October 10, 1943, dawn, hangs cold and metallic over the airfield at RAF Chelveston. Frost clings to the steel skin of AB-17, flying fortress as ground crew move like shadows beneath her wings. The name Lucky Belle is painted in fading yellow near the nose. She has already survived 12 missions over Germany. Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer runs a gloved hand along the fuselage. He is 23, a waist gunner from Ohio. The engines cough to life one by one deep. Mechanical thunder rolling across the field. The vibration climbs into his chest. Today's target lies deep inside Germany, the industrial heart near Bremen. Inside the bomber, everything smells of oil and cold metal. The crew check their gear in silence. Oxygen masks, heated suits, ammunition belts. Lieutenant Harris, the pilot, leans back from the cockpit. "Keep your heads clear," he says quietly. "Flak will be thick." Mercer nods. He has heard it before, but the way Harris says it today feels different. The formation assembles above the English coast, dozens of fortresses, climbing through broken cloud. Sunlight flashes off aluminum wings. From above, they look invincible. From inside, they feel fragile. They cross into enemy airspace before noon. The first flak bursts appear as distant black flowers. Then more. The sky darkens with explosions. The bomber jolts violently. Shards of steel scream past the fuselage. Mercer grips his .50 caliber machine gun, heart hammering. The intercom crackles with strained voices. Bandits at 3 o'clock. German fighters slice through the formation sleek. Messerschmitt Bf-109s diving from the sun. Mercer fires in controlled bursts. Tracers arc red across the sky. One fighter flashes past so close he sees the pilot's goggles. Another explosion rocks the aircraft. Then it happens. A B-17 above them takes a direct flak hit. Its wing shears off in a violent blossom of smoke and fire. The falling wreckage tumbles straight toward Lucky Belle. "There's no time," the co-pilot shouts. The collision is sickening. Metal tears into metal. The entire aircraft lurches sideways. Mercer slams against the fuselage. Screaming wind invades the cabin. Something massive has struck and lodged itself into their upper structure. For a moment, there is only chaos, smoke, fire, and the howl of open sky. Then the plane stabilizes. Barely. Mercer crawls toward the waist window. Through shredded aluminum, he sees something impossible. The broken remains of another B-17 are fused into their own. Its tail section twisted into their top turret like two beasts locked in mid-air combat. The sky has locked them together, and they are still flying. Below them, Germany waits. The sky is screaming. Wind tears through the shattered fuselage of Lucky Belle, ripping maps from the navigator's table and turning loose papers into white ghosts. The temperature drops instantly. At 24,000 feet, the cold is merciless. Daniel Mercer struggles to pull his oxygen mask back over his face. "Report." Lieutenant Harris shouts over the intercom. Static answers him. The upper turret gunner is gone. The twisted tail section of the other B-17 Flying Fortress has punched straight through their dorsal spine, crushing metal, wiring, and flesh. Hydraulic fluid drips like black rain across the radio compartment. Mercer forces himself forward, boots slipping on spent shell casings. He reaches the central walkway and freezes. The tail of the other bomber is still attached to its vertical stabilizer, bent like a broken fin, its fabric rudder shredded. Inside that mangled wreckage, a body hangs suspended in a torn harness. American, frozen in place. "They didn't bail out," Mercer whispers. "Controls are heavy," Harris grunts. "Feels like she's dragging a barn." Flak continues bursting around them. German fighters circle cautiously now, confused by the grotesque shape limping through the sky. Two bombers locked together, half alive, half dead. The bomb bay doors refuse to close fully. One engine is coughing black smoke. The aircraft lists to the right, fighting gravity with every mile. "We can't make England like this," the navigator says flatly. No one argues. Another Bf-109 dives in, cannons flashing. Mercer swings his .50 caliber and fires. The recoil bruises his shoulder. Tracers slice across the fighter's nose. The German plane veers away at the last second. He exhales slowly. The sky feels closer now, tighter, as if it is squeezing them down. Altitude's dropping, the co-pilot reports. Below, the gray landscape of northern Germany sharpens into focus fields, rail lines, clusters of houses. Somewhere beneath that haze, anti-aircraft batteries track them patiently. Mercer crawls to the open wound in the fuselage and looks down. He sees civilians scattering between farmhouses as debris from the collision spirals earthward. "They are too heavy, too broken. Prepare to bail out," Harris orders. The words hang in the freezing air. Mercer feels something twist in his chest. Jumping means German captivity if they survive the landing. Staying means certain death when the plane tears itself apart. Another violent shudder runs through the airframe. The embedded tail shifts with a grinding scream of metal. Time is running out. Mercer clips his parachute to his harness. He moves toward the open gap where the waist panel used to be. Wine slams against him like a living force. He looks once more at the impossible wreckage fused above them too. American bombers bound together in midair. The sky locked them together. Now gravity is pulling them apart. Go, go, Harris shouts. Mercer steps into the void and falls into enemy territory. The fall is silent at first. Daniel Mercer tumbles through thin October air, spinning end over end. The roar of engines fades. The grotesque shape of the two-fused B-17 flying fortress shrinks above him, trailing smoke across the pale German sky. He counts. 1001, 1002, 1003. He pulls. The parachute snaps open, with a violent jerk that nearly tears his shoulders from their sockets. The sudden silence is unbearable. Only the soft flap of canvas and the distant thunder of anti-aircraft guns remain. Below him lies northern Germany, patchwork fields broken by hedgerows and thin country roads. Smoke columns rise from the direction of Bremen. The air still smells faintly of cordite. He scans the sky. Other parachutes bloom like pale flowers. Some drift steady. One spins uncontrollably. Far above, the locked bombers finally separate. One spirals away in flames. The other lucky bell hangs stubbornly in the air for a moment longer before tipping nose first toward the earth. Mercer feels a strange, guilty relief. At least the sky has let them go. Then he sees them. 3 parachutes descending not far from him, but smaller harnesses. Slim silhouettes. Dark uniforms unlike American flight gear. Women. German auxiliary personnel, Luftwaffe communications staff. Perhaps got in the blast when the bombers collided above a rail junction. Their transport aircraft must have been passing beneath the chaos. One woman's parachute is torn. It flutters unevenly, losing altitude too fast. Mercer cannot look away. The ground rises rapidly now. A farmstead sits directly below him, whitewashed walls, red roof, a barn casting a long shadow. Figures run across the yard, pointing upward. He hits hard in a plowed field. The impact drives the breath from his lungs. He fumbles to release the chute before the wind drags him. Shouts echo nearby. German voices. He scrambles to his feet, reaching instinctively for the sidearm at his hip. A useless gesture. A single pistol against a countryside. A scream cuts across the field. Mercer turns. The woman with the damaged parachute slams into the edge of a tree line. The canopy collapses over her like a shroud. She does not move. The other to land more cleanly, though one falls awkwardly and clutches her leg. Farm workers and local militia are already running toward them. Mercer freezes. He could disappear into the woods now. There is still time. Instead, he finds himself running toward the tree line, toward the fallen German woman. Bullets would be easier than this choice. As he reaches her, he sees she is young, barely 20. Her gray-blue Luftwaffe auxiliary uniform is torn at the shoulder. Blood darkens the fabric beneath her collar. Her eyes flicker open. They are not filled with hatred. They are filled with shock and fear. German voices are getting closer. Mercer kneels beside the enemy. The war has followed them both to the ground. The wind collapses the last of the silk around her. Daniel Mercer drops to his knees in the damp grass, hands trembling not from fear but from cold and decision. The young German woman struggles to breathe. Blood seeps through her torn gray-blue uniform, staining the insignia of the Luftwaffe Auxiliary Service. Up close, she looks even younger. Her cap lies a few feet away, caught in a bramble bush. Blonde hair spills loose across her cheek. Her eyes focus on him, confused, disoriented, then widen at the sight of the American wing stitched onto his jacket. Amerikaner, she whispers. The word carries no venom, only disbelief. Shouts echo from the farmyard. Civilian men with armbands, Volkssturm militia, are running toward the tree line. Mercer can see rifles in their hands. He has seconds. He presses his gloves against her wound, trying to slow the bleeding. It's a shoulder-hit metal fragment, not a bullet, likely from the mid-air collision of the B-17 flying fortress. The sky's violence did not care about uniforms. She gasps as he tightens pressure. Still, he murmurs instinctively, though she may not understand. She studies his face, searching for something, mercy or threat. Another scream rings out from beyond the hedgerow. One of the other German women has been found by villagers. The tone is urgent, frightened. Mercer hears boots crashing closer through dry brush. If he stays, he becomes a prisoner. If he runs, she may bleed out before help arrives. The war has trained him to shoot at shapes in the sky, not to choose between survival and humanity on the ground. The woman grips his sleeve suddenly. Her hand is shaking. Bit, she whispers. He understands that much. Please. Mercer tears open his own field dressing kit, wrapping her shoulder tightly, pulling the bandage across her back. She cries out but does not fight him. A rifle bolt snaps somewhere behind him. Amerikaner, Han Hawk. Mercer slowly raises his hands, standing beside the wounded woman. 3 militia men step from the brush, faces red with fury. One levels his rifle directly at Mercer's chest. For a heartbeat, the world holds still. Then something unexpected happens. The wounded German woman pushes herself up slightly and speaks sharply in rapid German. Her voice is weak but commanding. The men hesitate. They lower the rifle just a fraction. Mercer doesn't understand her words, but he understands tone. She is protecting him. Footsteps thunder from the direction of the road-uniformed soldiers this time. Field gray, armed, professional, Wehrmacht. A sergeant approaches, taking in the scene. The American airman, hands raised. The wounded auxiliary. The armed villagers, his eyes narrow. You will come with us, he says in broken English. Mercer nods slowly. As they bind his wrists, he looks once more at the woman he just saved. She meets his gaze through pain and confusion. Above them, distant smoke marks where the sky betrayed them both. They march him down a narrow country road lined with bare trees. Daniel Mercer walks with wrists bound, boots heavy with mud. Two Wehrmacht soldiers flank him, rifles steady but not cruel. Behind them, a military truck rattles forward, its canvas back already loaded with wounded. The young German auxiliary sits inside. Her shoulder is bandaged with his field dressing. Blood has soaked through, but the bleeding has slowed. She watches him through the gap in the canvas flap, not with hatred, with calculation. The sergeant glances back at Mercer. You shoot at us this morning, he says evenly. Mercer meets his eyes. You shot first. The sergeant almost smiles. They reach a small rail junction outside a village whose name Mercer never catches. The station building is cracked. Windows blown out from the bombing run meant for nearby industry. Smoke still drifts low over the tracks. A Red Cross truck idles near the platform. Nurses in white armbands move quickly between stretchers. Mercer is shoved toward a bench beneath the overhang. He sits. A guard remains close. Across the platform, the wounded German women are being examined. One has a broken leg. The other Mercer sits upright while a medic carefully unwraps the field dressing. The medic pauses. He looks at the bandage, then at Mercer. The woman says something quietly. The medic nods. The sergeant approaches Mercer again. You treated her, he says. Not a question. Mercer shrugs slightly. She would have died. The sergeant studies him for a long moment. Around them, the sounds of war continue in the distance, faint engine hum. Distant flak. You are lucky, the sergeant mutters. Many civilians here, not so forgiving. Mercer thinks of the villagers with rifles. He knows the truth of that. A whistle blows sharply from down the tracks. A transport train approaches, dark and heavy. Prisoner cars. His stomach tightens. 2 military police step onto the platform. They carry paperwork, handcuffs, authority. One reads from a clipboard. Captured American airman. Mercer stands. As they lead him toward the train, he hears boots behind him. The wounded auxiliary is walking toward him despite the medic's protests. Her arm is in a sling now. Pale, but steady. She stops a few feet away. Up close, he sees her name tagged clearly for the first time. Anneliese Krugmer. She studies him, as if trying to memorize his face. You, Daniel, she says carefully, reading the stitched name on his jacket. He nods once. Her voice lowers. Danke. He doesn't know what to say. The military police pull him forward. As the train doors slide open with a hollow clang, Mercer looks back. Anneliese stands straight despite the pain, wind lifting strands of her hair. 2 enemies brought down by the same sky, now bound for different kinds of prisons. The train doors slam shut behind him. Darkness swallows the light, and the wheels begin to turn. The train smells of coal smoke, sweat, and fear. Daniel Mercer stands shoulder to shoulder with other captured airmen inside a wooden freight car. No seats, no heat, only a single barred window near the ceiling. Through it, gray October light flickers as the countryside rolls past. Someone coughs in the dark. A navigator from another crew leans close. Where are you from? He whispers. Ohio, Mercer answers. Hell of a way from home. The train jolts violently, steel wheels grinding against frozen track. Outside, Germany moves on villages, factories, forests preparing for winter. The war feels distant from inside the boxcar, and yet, closer than ever. Hours pass before the train slows. When the doors slide open, cold air cuts in like a blade. Guards shout. Prisoners stumble down onto a gravel platform. surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers. A wooden sign hangs near the entrance. Stalag Luft III. Mercer has heard the name whispered during briefings back in England. A Luftwaffe-run camp for captured Allied airmen, supposedly more professional than others, supposedly. Inside the perimeter, barracks stretch in rigid rows across muddy ground. Guards with rifles patrol. Behind double fences lined with warning signs in German and English. A senior German officer steps forward, flanked by clerks. "Welcome," he says stiffly in accented English. "You are now prisoners of war. Follow regulations, and you will be treated correctly." Mercer scans the compound. Thin men in worn American jackets move slowly between buildings. Some stare with hollow eyes. Others watch with guarded curiosity. He feels something tighten in his chest. This is not a battlefield. It is waiting. They are processed one by one. Name, rank, serial number. Mercer repeats it mechanically. He is issued a thin blanket, a tin cup, and a bunk inside barracks 104. The air inside smells of damp wood and boiled cabbage. 40 men share the space. A small iron stove sits cold in the center. That night, as Mercer lies awake on his narrow bunk, he stares at the ceiling boards inches above his face. Every sound is magnified: the cough of a guard, boots crunching gravel, wind against wire. Across the compound, a vehicle engine hums briefly. Mercer shifts, listening. Through a narrow crack in the barracks wall, he catches sight of headlights near the command building. A military staff car. A familiar silhouette steps out, arm in sling, coat wrapped tightly against the cold. Anneliese Krugmer. She speaks with a Luftwaffe officer near the entrance gate. Their conversation is tense, urgent. Why is she here? A guard notices. Mercer watching and slams the butt of his rifle against the barracks wall. Inside, the headlights switch off. Darkness returns. Mercer lies back slowly, heart racing. The sky brought them down together. Now the camp has brought her back into his world. And something tells him this is no coincidence. Morning comes to Stalag Luft III without warmth. A whistle shrieks across the compound. Prisoners spill from the barracks into the frost-bitten yard for roll call. Daniel Mercer stands in formation, boots sinking into mud hardened by the night's freeze. Breath hangs in pale clouds around hundreds of men. Guards pace slowly in front of the ranks, rifles slung but ready. Mercer keeps his eyes forward, but he feels it before he sees it. Movement near the command building. Anneliese Krugmer steps out of the administrative office, her arm still in a sling beneath her heavy coat. She walks with purpose despite the stiffness in her shoulder. A Luftwaffe captain accompanies her, speaking sharply, gesturing toward the barracks. The captain stops in front of the assembled Americans. "You will provide information regarding yesterday's bombing target," he announces in English. "Industrial objective, coordinates." No one answers. The silence is thick and deliberate. Under the Geneva Convention, they are required to give only name, rank, serial number. Nothing more. The captain's eyes narrow. He turns toward Anneliese and says something in German. She listens, then glances across the formation. Her gaze finds Mercer. It lingers a fraction too long. The captain signals to guards. "Bring him." Mercer feels hands grip his arms. The formation remains rigid as he is pulled from the line. No one speaks, but he feels the weight of their eyes. Inside the administrative building, the air is warmer. Smells of ink and tobacco replace mud and cold. The captain sits behind a desk. "You were waist gunner," he says, flipping through papers. "You saw target." Mercer keeps his voice steady. "Name, rank, serial number." The captain's jaw tightens. He gestures toward Anneliese. "Fräulein Krugmer was present when you landed. She reports you assisted her. That was unexpected." Mercer says nothing. Anneliese stands by the window, pale light outlining her profile. Her expression is controlled, but her fingers tighten subtly against her sling. The captain leans forward. "Help us. We help you. Perhaps easier conditions." Mercer meets his eyes. "Name, rank, serial number." The captain stands abruptly, chair scraping harshly against the floor. "You think war is simple," he snaps. "Bombs fall on our cities, on women like her." His hand slams onto the desk. Anneliese speaks quietly in German, firm, measured. The captain hesitates. Whatever she says changes the tone of the room. After a tense pause, he exhales sharply. "Return him." Mercer is escorted back outside. As he steps into the cold yard again, he risks one glance toward the office window. Anneliese is watching him, not as an enemy, as something far more dangerous in wartime. A witness. The guards shove him back into formation. Roll call resumes, but inside Mercer's chest, something has shifted. The sky locked them together. Now silence binds them both. And silence, in a place like this, can be deadly. Winter settles over Stalag Luft III like a slow tightening fist. Snow fills the yard between the barracks. The mud hardens into iron. Breath turns to frost on unshaven faces. Daniel Mercer feels his ribs more each morning when he pulls on his thin jacket. Rations have grown smaller. Rumors have grown louder. The war is shifting. Inside Barracks 104, whispers move carefully between bunks, tunnels, civilian clothes, compasses built from stolen razor blades. Mercer listens more than he speaks. He is not an escape artist. He is a gunner who fell out of the sky. But he knows one thing. Waiting is another kind of death. One afternoon, his name is called again. He is escorted not to interrogation but to the administrative building's back entrance. The guard who unlocks the door avoids his eyes. Inside, the air feels different, quieter. Annalise stands near a desk stacked with radio logs. Her arm is no longer in a sling, though the movement is stiff. She wears her gray-blue auxiliary uniform neatly pressed, collar pinned precisely despite the war fraying at every edge. They are alone. For a moment, neither speaks. "I requested this," she says finally, her English careful but stronger now. Mercer studies her. Why? She looks toward the frosted window before answering. Because things are changing. Distant artillery rumbles faintly far to the east. The sound is low, but constant. The Russians push from one side. She continues. The British and Americans from the other. Camps like this may not stay orderly. He understands what she is not saying. Chaos, retribution, desperation. She steps closer, lowering her voice. There are officers here who do not wish prisoners harmed, but others. She hesitates. If Berlin demands evacuation, it will not be kind. Mercer feels the weight of her words. "Why tell me?" he asks. Her eyes hold his. "Because when you landed, you chose not to leave me." Silence settles between them. She reaches into a folder and removes a folded sheet of paper. A work assignment list. Several prisoner numbers marked for transfer within the week. Mercer sees his own serial number among them. "Transfer where?" he asks quietly. She shakes her head. "Not clear. But trains move east. Supplies are short. Guards are nervous." Outside, a truck backfires sharply. Both of them flinch. She slides the paper back into the folder. "I cannot remove your name," she says. "That would be noticed. But there are other lists. Work details, kitchen assignments, maintenance inside camp. Safer." He studies her face, searching for motive. All he sees is fatigue and something steady beneath it. "You're risking a lot," he says. She nods once. "So are you." Boots echo in the corridor. She steps back to the desk, posture rigid again. "Return him," she calls out in German just as the door opens. The guard leads Mercer away, without question. As he steps back into the freezing yard, snow begins to fall again, soft, silent, relentless.